What gets to shift in order to charge a fair price for the value that one creates instead of charging a pittance?
I find value and valuation a really interesting topic. Many people say to me, how can I know my value? How do I know what to charge for my work? And that's not really the right question. How do I know my value isn't what it's all about. So let's get very clear, first of all, what's being valued. What's being valued when you charge somebody for a product or a service is that product or that service, not you. Even if you provide that service, actually what's being valued is the provision of a service that delivers an outcome. The person who's buying from you, they want the outcome. Most of the time, they don't care nearly as much what the service is as what the outcome is. Unless if the service is really uncomfortable and really horrible, for example, let's say you have a very challenging way of training people to get certain outcomes in their life. Some people might not accept that method of service, and so they won't value what you're offering. But fundamentally, people are buying a change in their life. They're buying an outcome, and they're buying the provision of a service or a product that will deliver that outcome. So what's important about this is that there are two parties to this. There's you and there's the buyer. And you both play the value game here. So let's give some examples. Let's say that you think your thing is worth a certain amount. Perhaps you've gone and looked to see what other people are charging. So you value it, let's say you value it quite highly because you're quite confident and you value yourself and you feel that what you're providing is really, really good quality. That is not enough to set the price because we actually have to look at who is the other person. So let's say that your work is some kind of coaching and you do it really well, you're very experienced and you know that you can deliver really good outcomes. And so we could say notionally, you could charge whatever, $1,000 an hour for that. But supposing somebody comes along who's really poor, they're never going to be able to pay that $1,000 an hour. So you're going to have to say, I don't work with poor people. Or if you want to work with poor people because your service is really relevant for them, you're going to have to find another way to charge for it. One way is you could have loads and loads and loads of people paying $50 each or $20 each or $10 each. So you can make it very, very cheap because you can make lots of money because you have a big community. Another way you can do it is you can say, well, I'm going to go to this nonprofit and get them to pay for this service. And they're going to pay quite differently from somebody who's a private client. If you go to kind of mid-level private clients, you might need to run small groups at least in order to get the price you want. If you go to a business owner who's running a successful business, they're not going to want to be in a group. They're not going to want to hang out with lots of poor people. They're going to want lots of personal attention for themselves. And so they will pay a premium to you to give them that personal attention. This is just an example, but what I want to show you is that you do not determine the value on your own. You determine the value. It's a kind of negotiation between you and the person or the people who you want to work with. And there's another interesting piece in here. As I learned from writing my book, Love Money, Money Loves You. The way you value yourself affects your price. It's not the only thing, but it affects it. So let's say you provide a service that's worth to this client approximately $1,000 an hour, but you have no confidence in yourself. And then you say, okay, I'm going to charge $200 an hour. First of all, you don't get a really good match with the client because a client who wants to pay more will not easily trust a service that's much cheaper. So you don't get that good match. If you're very confident, you can easily charge that full price. Some people will charge over, but they have got to be able to deliver. You have to be able to deliver really good value if you're going to charge a really high price. So the way you value yourself is an important part of this, and the way the buyer values themselves is also an important part. Because let's say you think of a woman who sees a beautiful dress, she falls in love with it, and then she thinks, oh, but my body, I hate my thighs. My stomach sticks out too much. I can't wear that dress. I would love to, and I know it would look really great on me, but I just don't dare to invest that in myself. So she doesn't buy it. Even though she values it, she doesn't value herself enough to give it to herself. You don't get the sale, so you don't get any value from that. if she's super confident and she sees it's like, wow, I'm going to look fabulous in that dress, I'm going to wear it at this party next week, and she walks into the shop and buys it, she has a very different experience. And so does the seller, because they get the sale, so they get the value. So the way buyers value themselves, the way sellers value themselves, the value of the product, and the financial matching of that, they all play into how you price your product. But if you're charging a pittance, you're either charging a pittance because you're reaching clients who can't afford any more than that. If you want to earn more, you're either going to have lots of them, or you're going to have to work with different clients. Or you're charging a pittance because you're doing something that's really valuable and you don't value yourself and your own work enough. And then you need to look at that and stop, in that case, stop looking at yourself. Okay, this is really important. Don't look at yourself. Look at what is the value of this service or this product to the other person. Because if you do a really good job, even if you lack confidence, and it's super valuable to the other person, that's where you'll find your price. If you think about yourself all the time, you will never find the right price. You must listen to your clients and find the sweet spot where you feel really comfortable to ask for a price that respects the value of what you're doing.